All right. Hello and welcome. I'm so excited. I have my mentor and longtime friend Samantha Long here. We're going to chat about my journey to Reiki. And since she was a very big part of it, I wanted to have her here so you could hear both sides of the story. So, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, thank you so much for having me, Kiki. Um, Samantha Long. My business name is The Mystic Fool, and I live in northern Manitoba, Canada.
Yes, I love it. There are a lot of Canadians in my group and I think in my world here on the Facebook community. So, yay. We were just talking when we first like met or got connected, and we both follow a company called Alignment Essentials, AE for short, and they have a variety of mind body products and classes and tools to use. And she was connected to me as a mentor at that time as I was coming into mind body spirit space. So, do you remember our first phone call? It's going back several years.
Yeah, what did we figure? It was about
2020.
2020. Yeah, and they had us pair up with different people, and I think we were had to have 4 sessions together. Do I remember that correctly? And just offer support in any sort of way that we're able to offer each other support.
Yeah, and it was whatever I was going through at the time, anything in life and career, finances, relationship, personal, professional, what have you. I feel like we talked a lot about Epsom salt baths and putting like your perfect concoction of like all of the salt and the crystals and the oils and the flower petals. And I was like, oh, I never thought to put all that stuff in my bath. And now I do.
I remember we started talking about chakras.
Yes.
And then that was it.
And there was like fast friends from there till now. Like,
yeah.
It was fun. It was a lot of fun. And then I think we missed each other. They also hold retreats annually, and you had gone to one after one that I had gone to. Like I missed that year, and then I went the next year, and you had missed that year, and then of course COVID happened, so it changed everything. So we still have not met each other in person, but I swear I'm going to do a Canadian tour and just meet all my new Canadian friends.
I'll meet you anywhere in Canada.
Yeah, let's do it. I know we have our friend Kim in Canada as well, and I've met some other friends. So I need like a good month to tour because I've never been. How have I not been to Canada?
Yeah.
So, but at one of those retreats was the first time I had heard of Reiki and sound healing, and I wanted to learn all I could about it. And I knew you were a teacher. So I remember most of our calls after that were all about Reiki.
Yeah, like I said, I believe it started with chakras, and so I was getting sort of these downloads of things to share with you, and how else, I wasn't sure how else to talk about chakras than have someone experience Reiki.
Yeah, and it was very powerful and relaxing. And we did everything via distance, which was also mind blowing to me at the time because up to that point, I didn't know very much about chakras at all. I kind of knew it was like the rainbows and I kind of knew where they were located, but I wasn't a yoga person. Like I was more of the dance and the martial arts and lifting and those areas of fitness, but I hadn't really gotten into a yoga practice. And I know they're usually talked about more in that arena. And then I was in your world. I was on your emails. I think I was in a Facebook group you had created, and you were talking about Reiki level 1. And I was like, oh, what is that? What does that mean?
You're like, level 1.
What are these levels that you speak of? You're like, all about self-healing. I was like, okay, sign me up. I've got work to do. I know this. I can only make myself better. And it was great. It was the best way to spend a Saturday. We would just out online, beautiful conversation, healing sessions both ways, an attunement at the end. And I was just, and then we had the 21 days after, which was so empowering. I know like the first 2 weeks were great, but that third week, I remember messaging you. I was like, I skipped a day. Do I have to start over?
Yeah. No, it's always interesting that 21 days after your first attunement, everyone, I think it depends on where you are in your journey of what your how your body physically and spiritually and mentally will um settle into the alignment of the attunement.
Yes. And I was very focused on keeping myself in alignment. And I had the pull of work and family and other things, all the energy, right? Where all the places we decide to spend or invest it. And it can feel a little chaotic when you go out into the real world around real people.
Well, and that's the beauty of Reiki is it can start as such a powerful personal practice.
Mhm.
And if anyone is in search mode or curious mode and they want to add something to their own self practice, their own um, healing modality, their own ritualistic, healing practice, Reiki is a wonderful tool.
Yeah.
And it can go like you can become a master.
Yes. And I had no intention at that time. I was like, I'll take level 1 and I'll be good. I'm going to work on myself. I'm going to stay in my little bubble. And that was my comfort zone. I was like, that was already outside of my comfort zone. And I, practicing on my pets and like some friends who were open to it. And you're like, oh, Kiki, that level 2's coming up. Here's an invite.
Knock, knock.
If you feel led, if this resonates with you. And I was like, what's level 2? What's the difference? And you're like, oh, you can send distance, you learn new symbols. And I was like, oh, I could send it to friends and family who aren't local. Perfect. I'll think on it. I think I signed up the very next day.
Yeah,
Like,
it wasn't a long period of time between the two.
enough for me to like sleep on it, meditate, journal. Yeah, that sounds good. I'll do that. And that was really fun. And it was another day spent with Samantha. Mind blown on another level. I was like, this stuff is amazing. I think we worked with pendulums too in level 2.
Yeah, I usually add pendulums. Depending on how you want to your practice of sending the distance Reiki, some people do enjoy to use pendulums or stuffed animals or Reiki boxes. So pendulums and I seem to really work well together. So I find it easy to use them.
Yes, I've used them a few times since then, but I think we were joking like I end up being the pendulum. So I found that I started moving during sessions. I definitely have tried the surrogate, like the bear or the stuffed animal. Haven't been led to or drawn to the box. A lot of times I just visualize the person and I'm like transported to the room wherever they are, and it's really fun.
One of my mentors and mentor of yours now as well, she uses a sock monkey and uses the tail as an extension of the physical body into the connection of everything.
Oh, that's right. She did share that with us. We're talking about Laura, right?
Yes.
So there was a little gap between level 2 and level 3. I think when did I take 2? I think I took 2 in October or November, maybe.
We would have to look. Yeah.
But I know it's on the wall behind me. See all those? Those are all the certs from Samantha. And I did not plan that. I was like, oh, you can actually see them. It was September 21 that I took Reiki 1. And I think October was Celtic Reiki. That was Laura. Mm-hmm. And then November was level 2. And I don't think you did one, the master teacher, until January. Again, had no plans, intentions, what have you. We had talked about level 3. Every time I had asked what level 1 was, you're like, and 2 is this, and 3 is this. And I was like, okay, I'm just focused on this. And then you put out an announcement. I'm like, okay, well, tell me a little bit more about level 2. Like, what exactly is that? And then level 3/4, that can be broken up, right? Because some people do.
I believe it can be. When I was certified or attuned to 3 and 4, it was together. I think it all depends on the Reiki master, but you can certainly split it if you felt that was how you wanted to teach it.
Yeah. Because I've had some people that wanted the master, but no, they didn't want to teach. And they're like, they knew they could always come back. And I've seen it offered in both ways. I was really drawn to your style of teaching. Like, and we talked about there are no Reiki beliefs, right? Like you can change them out, you can adapt and change and put your own spin on things. And we also talked about our Reiki sandwiches.
You're so hungry.
Well, like where is our clothing line with the Reiki sandwiches? No,
right. It's work on it. It's yeah, tricky.
It's a work in progress.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then that was next level training for me. Like that really, and we even talked about like the ego a lot. I remember in that training, like wrapping our heads around master or master teacher and how we wanted our name on our certificate and how we would be putting our name and cert out there and what that meant for us and what the ego and the games it would play. And that was very interesting as well.
You had that this is to walk back a little bit on my style of teaching. And so one of the things that I'm a firm believer in is we're all not just bio individuals, but we are like, we connect so differently. And I believe in helping people find how you connect with whatever frequency, whatever healing modality and whatever Reiki you're working on. How does it show up for you? And then work on that. And it's like we're all these radio stations, and every attunement that you get is like a frequency and a new radio station you get attuned to, and it just fine tunes everything. And so there's a clearer stream of frequency.
Yes, I remember that, especially when we came to using or working with the different symbols for different reasons. Some people visualize it, some people draw it on their hand or the table, or visualize it over the patient or the room. And just, you always took a step back. It wasn't like by the book, which, I like to know the rules and then I kind of bend them or break them. And you were like, let's go to bending and breaking them first, and then I'll teach you the books.
You always want to honor and respect, the teaching. And then I don't see anything more beautiful than to be able to witness how people who have come through my certifications and witness them and how they connect. And then, then they're tapping in and growing their gifts. It's just mind blowing, the people who I've been able to be in contact with and just watch them unfold and really step into the full aspect of themselves.
And then it was fun because you took the Celtic training with us, right? Weren't you there with us?
That was the second time I took that one. And it was interesting because once I took that one for the second time, I had started offering people who had already been certified in whatever level or whatever extension of Reiki that I was offering. If you wanted to be present, because I really feel as we grow and shift and learn and evolve, sometimes it's important to kind of revisit things to see how you now connect and see what you pick up along the way. So yeah, the Celtic Reiki with Laura with you, that was the second time I took it. And after the second time, I'm like, oh, okay. Like things just resonated even deeper for me. It was, it was pretty amazing.
I remember teaching my first Reiki one. I was revisiting the manual. You even allowed me to kind of audit one of your Reiki ones. Like you did it in person and allowed me to kind of just virtually be there. And so many more, like you said, things clicked, or I heard them differently, or I had a new perceptual lens. And I was like, now I get it on a deeper level, or like, okay, I really feel that where I just thought I understood it before. And even prepping for it and reviewing the material and meditating on different things I wanted to tweak or say in my own way. It was just like, oh, okay, that's cool.
You know what? I every time I prep for a certification, I'll see something or read something I've read several times before, and I'll be like, oh. Of course, I always share those aha moments because they're so important to me to, share my aha moments and my learning, even though, I'm a master, and I know it all, everything. And, like even just like preparing for anything. And I'm like, oh, that's what that means.
Well, and then even just different students, like I feel like I learn from them as much as they learn from me with every interaction, every client, every session, what they see or feel, and kind of like the share time at the end. It's just so beautiful. Yeah.
I have a story to share. So very recently I had someone who has just taken their Reiki 2, and I always have myself available after attunements and levels, just in case you need to like reach out. So this person reached out, and she happens to live in the same community. So we had a little meeting in my space, and she says that she came to this, and I'm allowed to share the story. I've asked permission. This is the first time I'm sharing it. So it's quite miraculous, and my mind was blown. And she had said, with Reiki 2, you can send distantly, but not only distantly geographically, but distantly into a past version of yourself and the future version of yourself. So she had this epiphany. She's like, does this sound, and I always, does this sound like this could happen? She believed that she asked the question, what if her future self sent healing and the knowledge to take the Reiki 2 to her now self so that her past self could heal? I was just like, I don't know. I never even thought, I didn't even think before, but she's like, what if my future self sent me here to be here at this time, at this place? And she kind of came across our classes, like, so like mind-blowing, like accidentally, she just kind of showed up one day, and like, just how else can you explain some of those things if something miraculous just, but yeah, just this whole thought of, oh, my future self send healing to my past self, which got me to the present self to take the to take the Reiki so I can do all of this.
Yeah, that's a lot of time travel.
Right? But like, what if, or why not?
Right. Quantum healing, you can send it through space and time. I mean, everything's happening simultaneously, so it makes sense. I love that. That's amazing.
Yeah.
But yeah, Celtic Reiki was next level. And I know you taught the certification. I'm getting ready to. You want to share a little bit more about what that is?
So Celtic Reiki for me, I've always loved and really enjoyed nature and trees. And I don't get very far on what we call adventures without having to stop 10, 15, 20 times to like, ooh, oh, look at this rock, or look at this leaf, or look at this tree, So it for me, Celtic Reiki is deepening your understanding of the healing of plants and trees and nature, and the frequencies of those, and then tapping into and being open to the frequencies of those, the whatever plant or tree or aspect of nature that it is, and working with that beautiful healing.
Yes, I agree with all of that. And I when I was little, you could always find me up in a tree with a book. Like, I've always loved being connected with trees. If I need to be grounded and I don't have time to run a bath, like, I can go put a hand on a tree, get my bare feet in the grass, and that immediately connects me to like Mother Gaia and calms the central nervous system. I loved it. I've always been deeply connected with like Celtic and Scottish roots, and it runs in our family, but it's a newer branch of Reiki. I want to say it was like late 90s.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's based off of the old alphabet poem. So it's the series of lines and slashes. And it was beautiful to learn these new symbols and new pronunciations. And I was also fascinated by the duality of the session, because we were sending and receiving at the same time, as trees receive from the sun as well as through their roots. And it made complete sense, like you're nourished from both directions. And then that was really taking your skills to another level, because you're sifting and sorting, like, am I sending, am I receiving? Is that my energy? Is that their energy? Like, what messages are meant for me and which ones are meant for them? And it was really great practice. And I feel like that took my skills up a notch as well. And those attunements were opening things. And I remember every time I spent time in nature after that, it was a whole different experience. Like asking permission to be in a tree space and may I share, and just that respect and ceremony around it was so beautiful.
Yeah, it does bring a different layer and different level to Reiki.
Mhm.
100%. Oh, I had a great thought when you were speaking, but I lost it now. It'll come back.
Well, and the other thing I found fascinating about it with Celtic Reiki, you don't necessarily need to be attuned to any other form of Reiki. I mean, if you have level one, that's great, but there's no prerequisite, right? Like we're comparing it to like a class because it is its own standalone and it does have the 3 different levels. Um, and it's all done in one day versus 3 different days, which is beautiful. And it didn't feel too overwhelming. It was still like 5 or 6 hour training. There were, we go a little bit into the auras and different things, meridians, and there were extra elements. I feel like that each level had something extra. It wasn't just another attunement and there was a lot of practice involved. And I'm excited for my own. I've had several people request it. So that's coming in November.
Well, I think you had shared you really resonated with the Celtic, from where it originates from, and yeah, my whole world sort of shifted a lot with the first Celtic Reiki that I took, so much that I couldn't grasp all that I was connecting to. So then I took the Celtic Reiki again, and then it really settled. And then I took a Celtic shamanic course, and then it made like a whole, yeah, I then understood, these are my people.
Yes.
Right? Like this is part of who I've been, and a part of who I am, like in my DNA. So I too really love the learning of the different symbols, and it's kind of extended my toolbox. I'm offering for the first time a rune workshop in 2 weeks. And so runes are the symbols, right? So
Right.
it's
Yeah.
a different perspective on different symbols and what those mean as they come through. So yeah.
So fun. I know it's another reason I wish I lived by you. You have all these wonderful workshops and you do sound healing and meditations and you do cacao ceremonies and a lot of fun stuff. Always changing and keeping it fun, but all in the mind, body, spirit and keeping yourself whole.
I know that I am here in this lifetime to learn. I am so hungry to learn. And then anything I learn, I just have this huge desire to share
Yes.
and to help people tap into however they tap into. You were sharing about, Celtic Reiki. You don't really need any other form of healing modality certificate, to take it. And I firmly believe that we all have gifts and we all have this ability. If you think of, not that hugs are simple, but if you think of the healing that comes simply from a hug, you're a caregiver and you put your hand over someone's injury, and even just that in itself, and how comforting that is, and how much love you can put into that. And then I extend that into hugs, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, if you've ever had a good hug, you know exactly what I'm speaking of. And that is such a strong healing gift, our hugs. And
Yeah.
so all these things just are like open up so many different channels. And if you give good hugs, take a read.
Yes. I'm told I give very good hugs.
One day I'll get one.
You will. You'll get many because I'll have a lot of time to make up for. It'll be great. So yeah, so Celtic and I took master teacher, and then you added some more fun things. Huna was next, which I really resonated and connected with because my niece is going to University of Hawaii. And when she was 9 months old, I was actually her nanny and we went to Hawaii. So everything came full circle. And I think I shared a picture with you after the training. So there was a meditation you walk us through as part of it. And I had this vision, and I have not seen this mountainscape at all. And I was texting her afterwards and I was like, guess what I just did? And I was like, send me a picture of where you are. She was on a boat looking out at the mountains that came up in my vision during the meditation.
Right. I remember that. Yeah.
And I was like, I've got chills. It was
I got chills now too.
it It was so phenomenal. And the music you were playing, like all of it just tied in beautifully. And it was the exact experience that I was meant to have. And like that was another unique branch of Reiki. I would love to teach that on a beach. Like I have this vision of some type of retreat where I want to teach it, and we're like in that environment. I love the beach. I love the ocean. I don't know if it'll be Hawaii or if it'll be here on the East Coast, but might be multiple places. Who knows? We'll leave that up to the universe. But
yeah,
that was super fun. And then another one you had been teasing out was Dragon Reiki.
You've not done Dragon yet?
No, I'm planning that in January. That's going to be next. Because I love these extra branches. You know, I taught Reiki 1 and have students, and then timing is everything. And I just feel like this big pull, like you said, it's time to share. It's time to get this out there and put it out there to people that want it and need it. And I love my dragons. I connected immediately to mine with another meditation you put us through. And that's enough. Like Huna and Dragon are also standalones, correct? Like you don't need prerequisites. It's you can take it as is, and they're beautiful. And I use each one of them depending on the client's needs too. So sometimes I draw on Celtic, and I have some staves that I got with the different symbols on them, and I like those are my amplifiers. I tend to use crystals for the Usui Reiki, and I have my dragons for when I call on my dragons to assistance and healings. So they all have their purpose and place and calling, and it just tap into what I feel the client needs, and it's beautiful.
Well, and I, for each one that I've taken, you know, some of it's really resonated and really imprinted within my being. And so in a session, something comes in. That's sort of how I can explain it. It just comes in and it settles, and it wants to be present, or it wants to help, and I'll be like, oh, that's a tree symbol, and or oh, you know, that's a poplar tree. You know, a poplar tree will come, or a symbol will come, or you know, I've been able to see or get the sense of the presence of a dragon with people, and it's so funny, dragons, because you know, reflection, like every movie as a child that had a dragon in it, that was my jam. And my mom was very open to mystical things. So we watched those types of movies as kids, and you know, I really resonated with them. But when it came to signing up for my first Dragon Reiki, I'm like, what? I took it because my friend was taking it, and I'm just like, we signed up for like, I think 4 different types of Reiki in the year with Laura and healing.
Yeah.
And I wasn't totally like, you know, sold. And I think like the first like 10 minutes, she's like, this is my memory of it. She's like, so, you know, do you believe in angels? Do you believe in guides? Do you believe in, you know, the spirit guides? Do you believe in, you know, I think she rolled out a few things, and she's like, well, why not dragons? And it was just like, just like my whole world was like, what? Like, of course, you know, so we do the training, and, you know, her teaching, practices are very similar to mine, so there is some practice within the teachings, and I'm lying there, and everyone's, you know, they're practicing on me with the Dragon Reiki, and my whole chest just like feels super heavy, and I see this golden light, and I don't really know, you know, I'm at this point I'm still not really sure what this is. You know, golden light could mean several different things.
Yeah.
They do their Reiki healing session with me and their dragon in the Dragon Reiki, and then she starts laughing, and I'm like, she's like, can I share? And she's like, you got a big golden dragon sitting right on your chest, and you know, this is the message. And I'm like, oh.
And those
so now every time I feel my chest, I'm like, okay, what do I need? What is it I'm not listening to right now? And it's interesting because I've had people now throughout the years do Reiki on me, and they see the golden light, and I'm like, oh yeah, my dragon's here. So it's yeah.
And that's a rare one. I think from if I'm remembering, like that's one of the rare colors, the rare types of dragons. Most people don't have that. And mine was a little bit odd as well because it came up as purple, and I was like, do they merge? Like, do I have a water and a fire dragon as mine? I don't know. Because when we went for our ride in our cave, we were in the water and there were mermaids on seahorses, and it was very vivid and fun. I love when you do the meditations.
Yeah, no, I love doing them as well.
So we're working on something special for Celtic Reiki.
Yes, we gotta get on that. Yeah, I've got some notes written down, and I just needed some time to sit with it.
Awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
We've been doing some visualization, so it'll be fun.
Yeah.
And then I don't think I ever got a chance to do your Karuna Key Reiki.
You know what? I've offered, like I've presented to offer it, but I've actually not done the certification. But Karuna Key in itself was just like, I think out of all the different Reikis and all the symbols, the Karuna Key symbols themselves were the ones that I resonated the strongest with.
Wow.
If you can believe that. you know how much I love them all.
I was gonna say, how do you pick just one flavor, right? It's just different. But yeah.
Yeah.
That was
if I had to pick one modality for symbols, it would be the Karuna Key.
And then you and I took Animal Reiki with Laura together.
Yes, we did. Yeah.
So fun.
Yeah.
Been using that on both my babies, and there is a world of difference. Like Biggie used to be so anxious and scared and skittish, and now he comes up with, if strangers come over or like new people come to visit, he's not running up and hiding under the bed. He's sitting there like, who are you? What are you doing in my house? So, and Tupac's gained enough weight where he's like maintaining, because he gave us a scare. He lost a bunch of weight, but he's doing better. He was pretty fat. He needed to lose some weight, but not as much as he did. And now he can jump on everything, which we don't love, but that's okay. We work around it.
And Kundalini too. That's another one that I have offered. Did you say Kundalini?
I just remember the Karuna Key because I think that was the one right after Dragon. But I don't remember Kundalini. And I think you've taken, didn't Laura do an angel one or a celestial?
Both.
Yeah. And then there was is the celestial one with like the different houses? You were trying to explain, you were really excited after you took
it. So it's tapping into the energies of the planets. And yeah, more or less, like to really sum it up, celestial Reiki is the planets, and then angelic Reiki, that really blew my mind. She had this beautiful meditation of how to see which angels are, your go-to angels, maybe right now, or depending, I think, on your perspective and your belief system, like your go-to angels right now. And then the last time I did a Dragon Reiki, I came across some information and some teachings and some experiences with certain dragons that work with certain angels.
Yes, the seraphim and celestial dragons. Yes.
Yeah. So, and then how unicorns are there as well, and like just bananas.
They're all on that plane of existence. They totally are.
Yeah. If dragons, why not unicorns? I'm like, okay.
All of the above.
Sold. Yeah, I am now a believer of everything. Yeah.
They're just in a different dimension. It's great. I love it. No, the dragon, I've been working with some of the elemental dragons, and I know they're celestial. The duality dragons have been really helpful with balancing like my masculine and feminine energy, because I was very much in my masculine and that push and that hustle and action and grind and hardly any relaxation and flow, and you need both, right? You can't, and because then I went over on this side and I had very little action and a lot of flow, and I was like, all right, so you got to find that balance and that alignment, and that's where all the good stuff happens naturally. Like you don't have to do as much work as you think you do, that we're programmed to think we need to do.
Yes, that we're told and programmed.
Yes. Whether it be society, family members, friends, or just something we heard subliminally that's just repeating over time in the back of our head. So, yeah, all of these have been amazing tools. And I think I was sharing with you, I just recently added Akashic record healing to my toolbox. And during that training, I found out that I've actually been in the records through multiple sessions when I was giving Reiki, but didn't know that's where I was or what I was being shown. I was like, oh, I'm sorry. And it's like, no, it's just one of those things. You're in that frequency. You're in that frequency. I was like, well, now I know how to officially open and close and give gratitude where it's meant to go. And
yeah, I had that realization too. I took my Akashic record teacher training with Laura, and that, you know, the energy of it, I could never really explain where I was like mostly sitting in or tapping into. And then once we were, I don't know, with me, we were halfway through. I'm like, oh, this is where I've been. Like not right in the Akashics, but in the energy of the Akashics. So, yeah, it was interesting.
yes, it is. Like, I love going there for myself. I really enjoy that. I've been doing dual healing. So I've been combining, like, I'll open with Reiki, hop into the records with intention or question from the client, hop out, finish with Reiki, sometimes add sound at the end. Like, it's just beautiful how complementary they are and how beautifully they work together. And then setting up crystal grids to send energy while I'm in the records to just, you know, for funsies and to amplify and just, why not add some card pulls at the end? Like, here's your menu. What would you like?
Yeah. And that's been an interesting thing, like just with my business. Okay. They're like, so what do you do? Like, what do you need?
Yes. Right.
What do you need?
That's like people are like, what do you do? Or who do you help? Or how do you help them? Do you have an hour? Like, I just feel like that's that scroll that keeps rolling out and it's got a list of things.
Well, just this past week, I had someone register, book a 2-hour session with me, and we did about 15, 20 minutes in everything that I do. So we did a chakra clearing. We did a Celtic tree pull with my sticks that I have. We did sound healing. We did Reiki. We did a card reading. And we did something else. So like let's dabble in all of the things, and then you'll be able to see kind of what you resonate with.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's like an open house.
Yeah.
Try everything.
Yeah, it was quite interesting because I haven't experienced that before. Like someone's like, I really don't know. I'm like, well, let's just do it all. She's like, okay, I'll book 2 hours. I'm like, okay, let's do it. so we did it.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was interesting. And the thing that I find super funny and interesting about all of these different, you know, there used to be Reiki, and then the Celtic Reiki, and then, you know, the crystals, and just, it always seems to be that the end message or what you need all comes from all of them is kind of the same.
Yes. Yes. Like the chakra I was drawn to for Reiki for attention. And then I go into the Akashic records, I do a scan and I assume nothing, like it's not about me, it's about them, but drawn to the same chakra or the same, you know, an underlying message, or I'm getting the same thoughts and feelings and knowings. And then we end and it's the same messages coming through. And then I always like them to start to see where we resonate. And then they're sharing exactly where in the body they felt it. And it's always in alignment.
And then you pull a card and it's the card for exactly that.
Okay. So I was pulling myself before a session, like I ground and I make sure I'm tethered, and 3 times in a row with the same client, 3 weeks in a row. And I'm shuffling while we're talking at the end, and I pulled the same card for them as I pulled for myself. So I'm like, all right, this is a mirror. Clearly I'm working on the same thing and the same wavelength, different stage, but it's like, okay, this is good. This is interesting. So now I stopped pulling beforehand, or I pull from a different deck. She's like, no, do it again. Let's see if we can get 4 and 5. And I'm like, I don't know. That was kind of freaking me out.
Yeah, pull from a different deck and see if you get another message.
Yeah, it is still similar message.
I had one person come in and she wanted, typically people who book more than a half an hour, they also book a card reading before their half an hour sound or Reiki session. And so we pulled, I don't know, it was a pretty, like a 5-card spread, like more than just one or two. And so she was really drawn to 2 different decks. And sometimes, and I put myself in this as well, I really need a good, okay, this is what we're trying to tell you. So, so we pulled from both decks, totally different decks, totally different creators, and almost all of them at least had the same color or the same, like I can't remember if it was roses, but one deck had roses and the other deck had roses in the card in all of the same placements. Like it was just like she took a picture and she was so humbled. I was humbled and she was very humbled by this. And it was a very strong message that she needed, that, you know, that she needed to hear. And so we thought, well, we'll see if we get it in the same sort of message is kind of sometimes usually what it is, but it was so much the same that even like the colors or the pictures or the words, you know, and I'm just like, wow, like, yeah.
I was talking to another friend of mine and she was working with this one deck and it didn't matter how much she shuffled it, dumped it all out, mixed it up. She was getting the same card. And she's like, okay, I thought I'm working through this and get the same card. And she's like, all right, universe, I get it. I'm picking up what you're putting down. And she'd get the same card a couple days later, or she'd switch decks and then come back to it. She's like, really? Have I made no progress?
Yeah.
But that was a fun phone call. I think that was one of our connections. And you were like, oh, let me show you this deck. And what about this? And I'm like, oh, I got this one. And what about that one?
Yeah.
And I found this really fun place near my sister in Fredericksburg. And it's a metaphysical shop called Dragon's Den and Treasures. And I found that custom deck that the owner and her 2 daughters run the shop. And the owner designed the I guess the text, the copy of it, but she worked with a woman, I think she's in Africa somewhere, and she had channeled each one of the images of the dragons based on the description this woman gave her. And it's a shorter deck, but it does not need to be voluminous. It's amazing. And I don't think it was on Amazon at the time. It might be now, but or she at least has it in stock to ship. But I remember, I think I sent you one and you're like, can you give me another one? And then it was out of stock and I was like running back to get it. And it's beautiful presentation. It comes in, it's like burlap sack with a see-through. And she even had a little piece of selenite. It's beautiful open magnetic top. And she also sells just the dragons in her shop, the artwork. And they're so fun. So I think I have 4 or 5 dragon decks now. I'm up to 33. Which I'm like, oh, that's not too bad. I don't know.
Someone asked me once, what are your favorite decks? And I'm like, well, so I have my stack beside my bed, and those are my decks.
Yeah.
And almost all of them, I have a second of the same to work with at the studio. But yeah, that dragon deck that you shared with me. And I actually gifted the first deck that you had gotten for me because it was definitely meant to happen and share this gift with this other person. And yeah.
Hey, Corme says, yes, I love dragons and decks. Woohoo, we're in the right place. We love our dragons. I've been working a lot with the new Rebecca Campbell deck.
Or which one? Rose or Healing Waters? Yeah. I don't have that one yet.
This came out in June of this year. So this was, I like, the colors are amazing. The cards are spot on. And I mean, I'm a Pisces and I love my water. So
yeah, that is I love her artwork and her decks. I really like the rose of hers. That's really, a lot of people seem to resonate with that one.
I don't think I have that one. I have her Starseed, her Gateway. I have a couple, but I know she has a large collection.
Yeah. And it's so soft and I feel that she comes from a slightly different perspective and belief system. So I really appreciate that. Like that's my jam. You share with me what your perspective and allow me to sit with that if you're willing to share. And I don't have to take it on to my own belief system, but gosh, I love hearing, people's different perspectives.
Yeah. There's no one way to do anything, right? Just make it your own, mix it with other things. Like that's what makes you unique and you stand out. And that's why we're all here. It's to be us, not to blend in, right? So anything that stood out or anything that you got on your side I feel like I talked a lot about what I did and what I was drawn to through the different certifications.
I'm sort of on the same path as you. Well, mine was a little different. My Reiki one, how I stepped into it is my daughter was having some issues medically at the time. And I'm going to say medically, my daughter's physical body was going through some stuff. So I could totally change my verbiage around that now. So medically around her physical body. And, we went the medical way, and I honor and respect what the medical system was able to do for us at the time. But we were seeking a little something else. And I had a friend who, well, what about Reiki? I'm like, well, what's that? She's like, well, you bring your daughter in, and, if she's open to it, and we'll work on it. And I was like, this is interesting. I'd never heard of it before. I have no hot clue what this is. And so my daughter had several sessions, and, she would share her findings, or, what she was witnessing or seeing or experiencing. And my daughter always left feeling better. And I wouldn't necessarily say in the physical body aspect, but she was feeling better. I'm like, okay, this is interesting. So then I had a session or two, and it was interesting. And so I had just finished my IIN, my integrative nutrition course.
Oh, yeah.
And I sat with the universe, or, again, your verbiage around that. And I'm like, what's next for me? I'm ready for whatever's next. And the next day she shows up at my house out of the blue. It had been months since we talked or communicated. And it was so randomly, a coincidence. And she's like, do you want to get attuned to Reiki 1? And I'm like, it only took a second, and my whole body just kind of shifted. And I'm like, yeah. And then that was it. And then I went years and years and years with Reiki 1, and really found that it was such a beautiful self-practice for myself.
Mm-hmm.
And my intention was never to do it beyond myself and my daughter. So I went years and years and years, like literally years. And then something shifted, and I was ready for, I think I was kind of on the journey of, and wanting to do some past healing for myself. And I thought, well, I think I need this Reiki 2. I need this Reiki 2 so I can send past healing to myself. And so then there was that. And again, my whole world sort of shifted. And I went a few years before I took the next, level, and the master level. And my teacher at the time, she wasn't ready to certify someone. And so I waited, and I asked and waited and asked and waited. And then Laura somehow just, I had a Reiki session with someone, and Laura was her master. And I was just getting into sound healing at the time, and Laura was making drums and selling them. And then Laura was offering the master level, and I asked my mentor at the time if she was ready, or if she was okay with me, because I had this, and this thought in my mind that I needed to take everything with the one person. I now know that that's not necessary. And she's like, yeah, take it, do it. So, with her blessing, I took my Reiki master with Laura, and then all the things I've learned from Laura since has just been, I'm so grateful. I have such amazing, incredible, beautiful, just people in my life you're one of the people that are included. And I'm just in awe of the willingness to share and teach and just hold space for each other. I'm just so absolutely grateful to have come across and be your ambassador for, 4 sessions or whatever it was, and you being open to hearing about the different ways that I could, share my perspective with you on. And then here we are today.
Yes, it is so beautiful. And like the right people show up at the right time. People are like, well, what brought you to Reiki? And I was like, Reiki found me. Like Reiki found me at a time when I was open to it, when I was ready for it, and when I could absorb it and share it. And like this conversation, you and I were chatting, and I was like, I want to tell my story. I want to get it out there. I want to teach more. Like that, I was drawn to the master teacher level for the teacher part of it. I wanted to help give these healing tools to others. Like nothing against modern medicine, maybe a little bit against big pharma, but like, sorry, not sorry. The holistic, and we do have a lot of tools to regulate our nervous system, to work on multi dimensions, right? Like I was so focused. We're both come from fitness too, and I was so focused on the physical, like changing it, sculpting it, making it better, but really did not pay attention to mental, emotional, or spiritual. So I was like always hyper focused on this one area, ignored all the rest. And then when I started to integrate them and create that alignment and balance, and like let my body come down to what was normal, but I was up here at the fight or flight and go, 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 go. And it was like, oh, this is where I'm supposed to be. This is what calm feels like, like regulating that nervous system is huge. It's huge. I had no idea that I was not in a regulated state. And now like I can sit and play my bowls, play them every morning, because I think you were the first one I heard it. And I was like, oh, you did these TikToks and these reels. And I was like, oh, her bowls are so relaxing. So then I went down the sound healing course, and like I have crystal bowls, and I've got my gong, and I made my own drum, and that's like a whole other conversation we'll have to have. But it's like I play them every day. Cats come in and lay around them, and like that is my part of my morning ceremony.
I have to say it's pretty interesting meeting people's partners. You're the Samantha. Like, yeah, that's me. Crystals, Reiki, sound healing, card reading, like, yeah, all of the above, all together.
Yes. Bring on the woo, all of the woo.
Yeah.
But I feel like I was missing you and other people that are in this space, because we vibrate at the same level. We're on that same frequency. We're in it to heal and help. And there isn't that competition. There isn't that, well, this is my student or this is my client, or like there are way too many people out there that crave and need healing and not enough healers. So we do both, right? We help others become healers. We help heal, and as we heal others, even if we're just doing it for ourselves, because we're changing, and that is a ripple effect. So I love the win-win-win, and got into this to make people feel better. I mean, that's how I got into fitness. I wanted to bring them joy and wanted them to just feel better. I didn't care about losing weight or sweating, or I like just feel better. Like for an hour, shut off and just rock out to the music.
Me too, because we both taught Zumba.
Yes.
We taught Zumba for years, and yeah, it was very hardcore. It was like 5 days a week, and my teaching style, even with Zumba, was like, come dance with me.
Yes.
And then, people would ask about losing weight and stuff. And I'm like, well, you can book a health coaching session with me. We can do some blood work. We can find out from the health perspective what you're needing. But if you want to come to my fitness classes, we're here to just have fun, and you just join me. And I just want to bring joy. just move and joy and dance, right? If you're looking to, I don't know, gain muscle and you want me to yell at you or, encourage you in that way, I'm not your gal.
Yes, there's no boot camp. Like I've never taught a boot camp. I have no desire to teach a boot camp. Even my strength training, I'm like, let's go, girls. We can lift. Like, let's pretend our Arnold. I pick things up. I put them down. Like, I'm I'm a goofy person when it comes to that. So if that's your jam and you like to be distracted while doing other things and you're like, oh, that wasn't as painful as I thought. 2 days later, you might be sore going up and down the stairs, but you did it.
Yeah. Well, and I think maybe that kind of like is how we are now in this perspective of, healing is, come join me.
Yes.
Just come. Let's see what you jive with the most, and let me share with you what I have, and let's see if I can support you going forward.
Right. And it's up to them what they want, what they need, whether they raise their hand. Maybe they're just dipping a toe in. Maybe they're diving into the deep end and anything in between. I was the deep end girl. Yeah, I was. So you can see I have my dragon scales on still. From there was a fairy dragon festival this past weekend, and I went with my mom and sister and my niece, and we did tattoos and sparkles, and we got little fairy wings, and we went, and there were like all kinds of fun vendors and dragon fairy everything. It was so much fun. It's going to be an annual thing. I'm like, we're doing coordinated costumes next year.
Fun.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So I was like, oh, that's cool. This is like really good stuff. It's not a real tattoo. It's just a stick on, but it does not, like, I've showered and probably need to use some oil to get it off. It took me like 20 minutes to get it all off my face, but it was so worth it. I'll post pictures. It was fun, but This was amazing. So what do you have going on? Anything coming up that people can join in on virtually?
Well, almost all my certifications or my informational classes, someone can join up virtually.
Oh, awesome.
Or join virtually. The fun thing that I have that's new that is about these learning how to read runes. And I have a girlfriend who does resin work. And so we made a set of runes. And so we use crystals, and some might have some moss in it. And then I created a grid to go with the runes for when you're casting them. And so I have another girlfriend who does Cricut stuff and likes to sew, and she's making a bag for the runes. So when you open up the bag, it's going to open flat. And then this grid I've created, which I don't know how to share it. I don't know if I'm going to put it on like Etsy for anyone who does like rune, or I think there's also a way to cast using trinkets. There's a few different modalities that use casting sheets. So I created a casting sheet. So this is like super exciting for me, and that'll be part of my rune workshop on the 20th.
Oh, awesome.
Right now it's full. So I'm trying to sit with, am I going to make more runes and offer it again, or just sell the runes in my space, or online, of course. But yeah. And then I'm in the process of doing some researching to make a deck for myself as well. I don't know if I shared that with you. I want to make a cacao deck. So that's next on my list. So this rune workshop, how to read runes. And then during the winter here, it's super cold. We get a lot of time to sit with with ourselves in nice calm peaceness. And I've just quit my day job. So
congratulations.
So I'm really going to step into a little bit more within the community, doing sound baths and stuff in the community. Okay. But almost everything that I offer, that's a certification or a learning session. You can join me virtually.
I love it. So you're going to offer Karuna Key again or soon?
You tell me when you want it, and I will make it happen. Karuna Key, Dragon.
Yeah, I would say Dragon again in a heartbeat. I'm gonna launch that in January. I want to revisit it, but Celtic and Dragon I think are like my top favorites. I'm gonna probably spring on the beach, and then we'll see what happens from there. I'm feeling the pull for like putting together some form of retreat, like whether it's a day retreat or like a short little weekend, but something that I feel like people are craving more in person, and that self-care and refilling their own tank as well. And getting outside of your element, that's huge, right? Even if it's for a day, and disconnecting from other responsibilities and other ties, just so you can sit and be still and think, what do I really want? why am I really here?
And
What brings me joy? Me.
Yes, exactly.
Not
how do I find this joy, and where is it? Let's look for Kiki.
Yeah, but like not my boss, not my parents, not the kids, not the significant other, but me. What brings me joy? And I feel like there's this like ball of guilt and shame around that question that needs to be like peeled off. For some people, not all, right? Some have no problem with it. And like my niece, she's 7, and I learned so much from her, but there is no shame in her game. Like she knows what she wants and what she doesn't, and you cannot force, cajole, coerce, bribe. She's like, no. I was like, that's a boundary. Do not lose your boundary.
Could you imagine if we were like that at that age, where we'd be now?
I feel like I was to an extent, and then like I lost it, and I'm like, I want to bring it back.
That's a common theme. I think a lot of people do lose it.
Like adulting happens, or like we get on the hamster wheel of life and we forget. And like the whole awakening process is the remembering, whether it's our younger self in this life or previous or all of the above.
Or a message from our future self.
Yes, our higher self helping our past self to get us to our present self.
Yep.
I love it. That is phenomenal. Do you have any final thoughts or words of wisdom before we sign off?
Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me on this platform of yours, and for being in my life, and for, just being, oh gosh, all the things I've bounced off you and reached out to you for. I've always been so grateful for all of your advice and your perspective on things. It's always appreciated. So I appreciate you. So thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for being here, and thank you for introducing me to all of the things in the deep end of the pool, of the woo pool. I talk to you at the same time. Okay, what do I do about this? Hey, I had this feeling. What do you think? Do it. Go for it. Like we all need cheerleaders in our life that get us and know us and are like, yes, that's in their best interest, And I just appreciate all of it. And this journey is not over. We've got lots more chapters to write together. I'm just so excited that we're in it together. So thank you for being here and sharing you and me together, and we'll do it again soon.
Yeah, sounds great. I look forward to it.
Yes, and thank you to everyone watching live or the replay. Drop any questions you have for either of us about Reiki and all things woo, because we have big menus.
All things woo. I love it.
All things woo. Yes, lots of love. See you next time.